Do you ever feel like your house is never clean, no matter how much you clean it? Like mess has a mind of its own and keeps coming back, quietly, endlessly? You're not alone. But what if I told you there are homes, small, humble Japanese homes, where mess doesn't return? Not because they're perfect, but because the people inside them live by a few gentle, powerful habits that stop clutter before it begins. And today, I want to share those habits with you. 7 of them. Each one simple. Each one something you could start today, without buying a thing, lifting a couch, or making a checklist. This isn't about working harder. It's about living wiser. Let me tell you about Masayo. She's 82, lives in the outskirts of Kyoto. Her home is barely 500 square feet. No storage units, no plastic bins, no decluttering hacks. And yet, when you walk in, it feels calm, airy, spacious. One afternoon I asked her, "How do you keep it like this?" She smiled softly, poured me barley tea and said, "Robert-san, I don't let the mess start." That sentence changed something in me, because it wasn't about rules, it was about rhythm. And over the next 3 days, she showed me how she lived, how she moved inside her space, so that mess never found a place to land. So today, I'm passing on her wisdom to you. And we begin with the most surprising habit of all. It's not about what you store, it's about what touches the floor. Habit 1. Everything touches the floor. Only once. Where does your coat go when you walk in the door? Or the mail? Or that grocery bag you'll put away later? In many homes, things land, then sit, then gather company. That's how clutter begins, not with chaos, but with delay. In traditional Japanese homes, especially among older women, there's an unspoken habit that keeps things from ever becoming mess. It's this: everything touches the floor only once. That means when something enters the home, whether it's a jacket, a package, or a plastic bag, it doesn't get to rest on a chair or floor just for now. It either goes where it belongs, or it's addressed right away. When I was staying with Masayo, the 82-year-old woman I mentioned earlier, I noticed something unusual. She never had a drop zone, no entryway clutter, no corner for bags. Even her umbrella had a hook, not a leaning spot. I once placed my notebook on the floor beside the table. She gently picked it up, smiled, and said, "The floor is not storage, it's breath." That phrase stuck with me. Here's why it matters, especially as we grow older. Many women I've worked with feel overwhelmed not because they have too much stuff, but because everything seems like it's waiting to be folded, waiting to be returned, waiting to be dealt with later. And that later never feels like it comes. But when we give every item a home, or deal with it in one movement, we're not just organizing. We're reclaiming momentum. We're telling ourselves, this doesn't get to linger. I deserve ease. I've made this a habit in my own home. Keys go into a dish the moment I walk in. Mail goes into a folder, not the counter. Reusable bags? Folded and returned to the car that evening. At first it felt like effort. Now it feels like exhale. Mess doesn't begin in piles. It begins in pauses. Now what about the things we already live with? The ones already waiting, tucked in corners, settled in quietly over the years. For that, we look to the power of daily rhythm, the gentle art of micro-cleaning. Habit 2. The power of daily osoji, micro-cleaning. Have you ever looked around your home at 10 a.m. and felt like you've already lost the day? Like the dishes are multiplying, the laundry's watching you, and the floors, well, they've stopped asking for help? In many Japanese homes, mess doesn't get the chance to take over. Not because people clean more, but because they clean smaller. It's called osoji. Traditionally, it meant big cleaning done at year's end. But many older Japanese women practice daily osoji, short, focused moments of care that flow with the day. A 2-minute sweep after tea, a quick wipe of the sink after brushing teeth, folding the blanket before the next cup of coffee. When I lived with Masayo, she never blocked off a full hour to deep clean. But every surface felt loved. She boiled water for barley tea each morning, and while it steamed, she wiped down the windowsill with a cloth dipped in leftover tea. Her routine wasn't loud. It was woven into living. She didn't stop her day to clean. Cleaning was part of her day. One morning I asked her, How do you have the energy for this every single day? She smiled, handed me the tea, and said, "It's not energy, it's greeting the house." That hit me hard, because I've seen how many older women feel shame around mess, not because they're lazy, but because pain, fatigue, or sadness made them stop. And once you stop, it's so hard to begin again. So here's the shift. Don't wait until you feel like it. Don't aim to finish the whole room. Just do one act of greeting, one small moment of care. Wipe a mirror, fold a scarf, sweep just the entryway. I started doing this after visiting Masayo. I boil water for my tea, and while it steeps, I clean one thing. No playlist, no timer, just a cloth, a corner, and a moment that says, "This space matters. I still live here." A home doesn't need a makeover. Sometimes it just needs you to say hello. And sometimes saying hello means saying less, letting go of all the surfaces that pull at us. Which brings us to the next habit, the quiet power of fewer places to catch dust. Habit 3, fewer surfaces, less dust. Why is it that no matter how many times we clean, dust always finds its way back? And why is it that the more surfaces we have, the more we seem to fill them, without even meaning to? In Japanese homes, especially those of older women like Masayo, I noticed something subtle. They don't just clean less, they own fewer surfaces to begin with. Not because they're minimalists by title, but because they understand something most of us overlook. Flat space invites clutter. Empty shelves whisper, "Place something here." Unused tabletops become landing zones, and soon, the house feels heavier, not just physically, but emotionally. Masayo had one main shelf in her living space, just one. On it, she placed a framed photo of her husband, a seasonal flower in a tiny vase, and a cloth she hand-folded each morning. That was all. I asked her if she ever felt like adding more. She looked at me, tilted her head, and said, "More isn't beauty, more is burden." That stayed with me, because when I thought about my own home, I realized I had surfaces everywhere. Hallway tables, entry consoles, stacked shelving, and almost all of them carried things I didn't love. I didn't even notice most of them anymore. They blended into the background, but quietly stole my energy. Every item I passed without meaning still made a demand. Dust me, move me, remember me. For many older women I've met, there's a silent fear underneath the clutter. Not the fear of mess itself, but the fear that letting go of display items means letting go of identity, of memory, of warmth. "If I clear the shelves," one woman told me, "I'm afraid my house will feel empty of me." But what if the opposite were true? What if we create more presence by choosing fewer things, on purpose? I tried it. I cleared off one long shelf in my kitchen. I left just two things, a clay tea bowl I'd picked up in Kyoto and a tiny ceramic dog from my mother. The rest I boxed away. And for the first time in years, the space felt finished. Not waiting, not forgotten, just at peace. Less surface means less dust, but it also means less decision fatigue, less guilt, less hiding, more breath. Sometimes the cleanest space isn't the one with the least dust. It's the one that no longer asks for your attention. Now that we've made space where we see, let's talk about making peace with where things go. Because fewer surfaces only matter if the things that remain truly have a home. Habit 4. Give everything a home. Have you ever spent 10 minutes looking for your reading glasses only to find them in the fridge? Next to the butter? I wish I were joking. That actually happened to me. But it reminded me of something Masayo used to say. Things get lost when they have no home. And so do we. In Japanese households, especially among older women who've downsized or lived in the same place for decades, there's a quiet rule. Everything, no matter how small, must have a home. Not just a drawer, not a vague shelf. A real, defined spot. Your scissors? Always in the second drawer, left side. Your tea towel? Folded behind the kettle. Not nearby, not wherever there's space. Always the same place. I once asked Masayo why she never labeled anything. She chuckled and said, "The house remembers for me." That idea shook me, because I realized that I'd been relying on memory, not rhythm. And the older we get, the more energy that memory takes. Walking into a room and forgetting why. Setting down a pen and spending the next hour retracing our steps. It's not just forgetfulness, it's friction. 1,000 tiny frictions that wear down our peace. One woman I coached, Margaret, told me she felt scattered all the time, not overwhelmed, just disconnected from her home. I know where everything is, she said, but I don't feel like anything is settled. So we walked her house together, not to clean, just to choose. One item at a time, we gave it a resting place, a shelf, a hook, a cloth box. By the end of the week, she looked at me and whispered, "It's like the house is no longer asking questions." That's the heart of this habit. We don't just need our homes to hold things. We need them to answer back, to help us, to support us as we move through the day. Giving something a home isn't about perfection. It's about kindness. To ourselves. To the future version of us who's tired or distracted or grieving or just trying to find the scissors. I've started treating every new object like a guest. If it comes in, it gets a home. If I can't give it one, maybe it doesn't belong. Clutter asks, "Where do I go?" A tidy home answers before you even have to think. And speaking of things that don't belong, what about the items we already have but quietly know? It's time to let them go. Habit 5, the let it go basket. Have you ever held something in your hand and whispered, "I might need this someday"? A scarf that no longer fits your style. A mug with a chip that still makes you feel guilty. A vase you never liked but was once a gift. And so we put it back. Not because we want it, but because we're not quite ready to say goodbye. In many Japanese homes, there's no pressure to let go instantly. Instead, they use a quiet, beautiful practice, the let it go basket. A soft container, woven, wooden, or just a simple box in the corner. It's not a trash bin. It's not even a donation bin yet. It's a space of in-between. A resting place for things we might be ready to part with, but not in this moment. Masayo had one near her entryway. She called it her maybe basket. Each week she'd place 1 or 2 items inside. A scarf she hadn't worn, a dish that felt extra, a book she didn't finish. She didn't force decisions. She just paused them. And every Sunday with her tea, she'd sit beside the basket. Sometimes she took something back. Most of the time she whispered thank you and passed it on. I asked her once why she did it so gently. She said, "Because every item in our home once had a purpose. It deserves to be released kindly." That moved me, because so many older women I've coached carry a quiet guilt, not about keeping things, but about letting them go too fast or without meaning. This habit creates room for grace, for transition, for closure. I've adopted it myself. I now keep a cloth-lined basket in my closet, nothing fancy, just something that reminds me. Letting go isn't an event. It's a process, a conversation, a breath. Here's how you can try it. Take any small basket or box, place it in a low-stress spot, not hidden, not central, somewhere that feels gentle. Each week, ask yourself, what's one item I no longer reach for, wear, or love? Place it in the basket. Let it sit. You don't need to decide today. Just give it space to leave, softly. Not every goodbye has to be loud. Some just need a place to wait. Now let's look at what happens when you do let go. What you choose to keep becomes even more sacred, especially when displayed with intention. Habit 6. Observe natural timing. Some days the mop feels heavier, the dust feels louder, and the quiet inside the house presses on your chest like fog. Not because the house is different, but because you are. In many Japanese homes, especially those of older women, housework doesn't run on rigid routines. It follows something gentler, natural timing. That means tuning into light, body, and season instead of the ticking of a clock. The cleaning gets done, but not by force, by rhythm. When I visited Masayo in early spring, I noticed a strange pattern. She'd sweep only in the morning light, fold laundry when the tatami mats warmed under the sun, and never clean the kitchen on a rainy day. The house, she said, has its own mood. You just have to notice it. At first, I thought it was sweet, but later I realized it was wise. She wasn't just avoiding effort. She was observing flow. Some days welcome effort. Others ask us to pause. She moved with her home, not against it. This way of living changed me, because so many women I've met, especially in later life, carry an invisible weight, the guilt of not doing enough. They wake up tired, their joints ache, and yet they push, not out of desire but duty. But the truth is, care doesn't have to happen on a schedule. Dust will wait, dishes will wait. You don't need to chase the clock to prove you still matter. Since learning this from Masayo, I've started to pay closer attention, not just to the house, but to myself. When my energy is soft, I clean gently. When my body is sore, I choose rest without shame. When the wind feels good, I open the curtains and sweep just the porch. That's enough. You don't need to conquer the whole house to feel like you've done something. Sometimes, simply washing the teacup with presence is a form of praise. Some days are for folding, others are for breathing. Your home understands both. And once we learn to move in harmony with time, we begin to see our objects differently, not as clutter to manage, but as voices. Which ones still speak to you? Which ones no longer do? Habit 7. Begin with scent, not sight. What's the first thing you notice when you walk into your home? Most people would say the clutter, or the dishes, or that one chair that always holds yesterday's mail. But for many Japanese elders, they notice the scent, because for them, scent is the soul of the home. Begin with scent, not sight. That's the quiet habit I learned from Masayo. Each morning before she even opened the curtains, she lit a piece of yuzu wood, just a sliver. It filled the entryway with citrus and warmth. Then she placed a folded cloth scented with green tea near the sink. Only after that did she tidy up. She said, "The nose tells the heart what kind of day it will be." I didn't believe her at first, but then I tried it. One winter morning back home, before cleaning, before even brushing my teeth, I simmered a slice of ginger and orange peel in a small pot of water. Within minutes, the air changed. And so did I. I wasn't cleaning to fix something. I was preparing a space I cared about. For many older women I work with, scent is a powerful yet forgotten ally. It's not about air fresheners or candles. It's about memory, identity, feeling alive in a space again. Some tell me they miss the smell of fresh tatami. Others miss lavender from their mother's drawer. But deep down, they don't just miss the scent. They miss the version of themselves that felt present in it. This habit is simple. You don't need a ritual. You don't need to buy anything. You can place dry tea leaves in a bowl near your bed, drop a cinnamon stick in hot water on the stove, hang a small sachet of rice and citrus peel in your closet. These little things change the tone before the cleaning even begins. Because scent doesn't demand attention, it invites it. I now begin every Sunday morning with a soft scent. Some days it's rice water, some days it's eucalyptus, not to mask anything, but to say, this space is loved, and I am here. Before the hands begin, let the heart arrive. And now, as we've gently walked through 7 small habits, we come to something deeper. This isn't just about decluttering, it's about redefining what care looks like at this stage of life. Let's take a moment to breathe and close together. We didn't just talk about keeping your house tidy. We talked about something softer, something quieter. We talked about peace, about rhythm, about treating your home like a living thing, not a checklist, not a burden, not a project to be fixed. Because your home isn't a museum, it's not a showroom. It's a place that breathes with you, that holds your quiet mornings, your late-night aches, your memories, your hopes. And you don't need to do all 7 habits. You don't need to do any of them perfectly. Maybe just try one. Pick a moment, or a scent, or a single object and ask it gently, where do you belong? Or maybe ask yourself, where do I feel most at ease? Let your home become your ally again, not your critic. And now, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which habit spoke to you today? Which one do you feel ready to try? Or maybe there's something your mother did, or your grandmother. A scent, a rhythm, a small act that made her house feel like a hug. I read every word. I carry your stories with me like keys in an old coat pocket, quiet treasures, always there. And if this video gave you even one breath of ease, pass it on. Send it to a friend, a sister, a neighbor who's been holding her breath for too long. Because we're not just decluttering houses, we're returning to ourselves. We're learning how to care again, without hurry, without pressure. We're walking each other home.